What is going on, guys? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, throughout the training camp process, I have made videos talking about just about every single Detroit Lions rookie except for one player. Now, that player is obviously Julian Okwara, the Detroit Lions' third-round selection from the 2020 NFL Draft. Now, today we're going to be going over Julian Okwara's training camp so far with the Detroit Lions, talking about what he's doing good, what he's doing not so good, and what role he is starting to develop for this team. Now, before we do get into the video, if you are new to the channel and are enjoying the content, consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel, as it helps push this content out to more Detroit Lions fans such as yourselves. It would be a huge help to the channel. So if you could take those 2 seconds to do that, I would be super appreciative for it. But with all that being said, let's get into talking about Julian Okwara's training camp so far with the Detroit Lions and what his role might look like for us in the 2020 season. Now, as I mentioned, Julian Okwara was the third-round draft pick by the Detroit Lions in the 2020 NFL Draft. Now, Julian Okwara is coming off an injured season at Notre Dame where, unfortunately, he did end up breaking his leg, which I believe was a big reason he fell so far in the draft because, if he didn't break his leg, there were some people talking about him going in the first round of the draft. So, the fact that he got hurt is unfortunate for him, but it did allow the Detroit Lions to snag him in round 3 and pair him up with his brother Romeo, who was already on the team. Now, Julian Okwara started camp very slowly, and there's a reason that I haven't gotten around to Julian yet. It's not necessarily because he's playing bad. It's not necessarily because he's having a bad training camp where he's not, playing super well, but he's not necessarily popping off the screen like the Quintez Cephas. He's not necessarily flashing everything. He's not necessarily, popping off the screen like Jason Huntley or, some of the other rookies that we've talked about so far. Julian Okwara is just kind of having an average training camp. I wouldn't say that he's, exploding and, far surpassing the expectations that people set for him, but I also wouldn't say that he's not living up to those expectations. I don't know what other people thought, but I was high on Julian Okwara, but I wasn't necessarily thinking he would come in and, be the next great pass rusher. I was expecting it to take some time, and that is exactly how it seems to be. The Detroit Lions are taking it very slowly with Romeo Okwara. I believe partly because of his injury. They're trying to get him back healthy, make sure nothing bad happens again, making sure he doesn't re-injure anything, and also just because he is a third-round rookie and has a lot of things to learn in the NFL before the Detroit Lions coaching staff can feel comfortable putting him out there every single snap on Sundays. Now, Julian Okwara throughout the first week of training camp was primarily practicing with the special teams unit. Not even necessarily the linebacker group, not even the 2s or the 3s. He was practicing with the special teams unit more than anything. And, occasionally he was getting reps with the second and third string linebacker groups. Occasionally he was getting certain linebacker snaps and practicing with the linebackers. But primarily in the first week of training camp, he was with the special teams unit, which, makes me think that they're just taking it very slowly with Julian Okwara, and they're going to try to implement him as a special teams piece first before they transition him to a defensive piece. As I said, he did start very, very slowly in training camp, playing with, the special teams and a little bit with the second and third string. However, as the first week went on and we got into the second week, we did see Julian Okwara occasionally get some first team snaps as that jack linebacker position. Occasionally we would see them rotate Julian Okwara in and get some of those pass rush snaps where Devon Kennard used to be, but a lot of people are thinking that Julian Okwara is going to be that next Devon Kennard, and I think he can definitely develop into that, but he's not going to be that day one, and he hasn't shown that in camp. However, he has shown steady improvement. Now, throughout camp, I mentioned he started very slowly, and he's starting to work his way up. As training camp has gone on, as the second week has gone through, as the third week of training camp has gone through and is almost complete, we've seen Julian Okwara get more and more snaps. We've seen him, get more snaps with the first team. We've seen him get more snaps with the linebackers and less snaps with the special teams. Julian Okwara seems to he's starting to carve out that role. He's starting to show the coaches what he can do, and he's starting to show some of those flashes that he shines so often at Notre Dame to, make people believe he could have been a first-round pass rusher. Throughout training camp, he has definitely had his impressive moments. He hasn't necessarily been as flashy as Jason Huntley or Quintez Cephas. He hasn't necessarily had the huge explosive camp that, those two guys have had, but Julian Okwara has definitely made his flashes as well, and has definitely, made his presence known in the Detroit Lions camp. Now, there were a couple snaps in the, I think, end of the first week or early in the second week where he was working against the second string offensive lineman, and, I talked about this a little bit in one of the daily recaps, but he just played so well. Like, he is starting to win these one-on-ones. He's starting to win matchups against NFL caliber tackles. And one of the big knocks on Julian Okwara coming out, according to a lot of people, was that he relies too heavily on his athleticism. You know, he doesn't necessarily have the technique it takes to pass rush at the next level. And Julian Okwara is already starting to work on that. Julian Okwara is already starting to develop that technique so that he can become that great pass rusher at the next level. He's already developing that technique so that, you know, he doesn't have to rely on his speed. He doesn't have to rely on his athleticism, because in college that works, but in the NFL, Julian Okwara is not the fastest guy anymore. Julian Okwara is not the strongest guy anymore when he got to the NFL. So he's going to have to rely on his technique, and he is starting to develop that throughout training camp. Now, there was a really good example of this. I couldn't find exactly who the offensive lineman was, but there was one rep where they were doing pass rush drills, and Julian Okwara had a great burst off the line, but the tackle was able to step outside and kind of cut off that speed rush, kind of was able to shut down his initial pass rush move. And Julian Okwara very quickly and very smoothly transitioned to a spin move to get a late pressure on the quarterback. I mean, he's already showing these flashes of he's developing this technique. He's developing this, you know, mindset of, you know, I'm not going to be the biggest athlete. I'm not going to be the biggest, the fastest, the strongest guy. So I'm going to have to become more of a technician. I'm going to have to develop a spin move, you know, a swim move, a, you know, bull rush. He's going to have to develop these things, and he's starting to do that already. You know, we're already starting to see these glimpses of, yeah, he still has these flashes of athletic ability where he just blows past the tackle and gets this easy sack. He's just a faster, bigger athlete, got a better jump on the ball. But we're starting to also see these moments of him flashing technique, of him flashing the ability to learn and develop as a technician more so than an athlete. Now, Julian Okwara, you know, that was a great rep. That was a great example of him learning. But there's also been stories coming out of Julian Okwara. He's really been doing good against one-on-ones against the second string. You know, I can't remember what day it was exactly. I couldn't find exact dates for a lot of these. But, you know, there was one day in camp where they were doing just a couple pass rush reps, and Julian Okwara won back-to-back reps, which would have both been sacks if it were a live game. You know, he's just, you know, as I said, Julian Okwara isn't having the best training camp. He's not coming into training camp every day and, you know, making people fear him. You know, he's not the Quintez Cephas who's come in and just dominated every single player he's come across. He's not the Jason Huntley who has turned it, you know, who has really turned it on the last week or so of training camp and is really, you know, starting to make his presence known. Julian Okwara is just kind of your average rookie. And, you know, at this point, with all the rookies that have been playing so well, that's not necessarily the worst thing. You know, obviously, I want Julian Okwara to be successful. I wish he were having a camp like those guys, but I'm not super concerned about the fact that he's not, because he's a rookie. There's a reason he went in the third round, and, you know, he still has things to learn, but he is showing a lot of really good flashes in training camp. It's not necessarily as consistent as some of the other guys, some of his other, you know, draft compatriots, but he is showing the flashes. He is showing the things we saw at Notre Dame, the speed, the size, the ability to just get to the quarterback, and, you know, that's something the Detroit Lions need, and I would not be surprised if we see Julian Okwara getting more and more reps as the season goes on. Julian Okwara has developed so far in just 3 short weeks of training camp. You know, he went from just pretty much an athletic phenom to a guy that now, you know, is still an athletic phenom, but is also already developing this technique, the spin move. I heard stories about, you know, he's developing, you know, just more moves to use against players when his initial pass rush doesn't work. When he can't get around that edge smoothly, he's developing these things to counterattack and to counter against the offensive tackle so they can't completely sell out against the edge for him. You know, I hear these stories about him developing, and it's only been 3 weeks of training camp. You have to remember, you know, they did not get rookie minicamp. They did not get OTAs. They did not get, you know, they did not get what every other rookie is getting. You know, the 2020 class is at a huge disadvantage as far as rookies because they didn't get all this extra time in June and July. You know, they went straight into training camp against the, you know, veterans of the NFL, and Julian Okwara and all the other rookies have stepped up and, you know, proven that they belong. They've proven that they were worth the draft pick, and, you know, Julian Okwara might not be having the flashiest training camp, but he's still producing, he's still learning, he's still getting better every single day, and that's all you can ask out of the rookies at training camp. Now, unfortunately, the last couple of days, Julian Okwara has been injured. You know, he's been progressing throughout training camp, and I don't know exactly what the injury is. I already came up limping after one of the reps sometime. So, you know, he's been on the bike, he's been off on the sideline doing some stretches and some training, but he hasn't really participated in team drills or individual drills the last couple of days, which could be concerning. However, just like DeAndre Swift and some of the other players that have been injured, I do believe it is just more precautionary than anything keeping him out of team drills. So I would expect Julian Okwara to be back very, very soon and participating in, you know, not necessarily training camp because that's going to end in probably tomorrow, but as the Detroit Lions prepare for the Chicago Bears, look out for Julian Okwara because he's going to work hard. He's going to continue to develop. He's going to continue to become that technician that some people thought he could be, or that people thought he needed to be if he wanted to be an effective pass rusher. Julian Okwara has come so far in such a short amount of time, and the longer the season goes on, the more experience he gets, the more reps he gets against NFL talent. He's going to develop faster and faster and faster, and the more he does that, the quicker he develops, the more and more we're going to see number 45 on the field rushing the passer for the Detroit Lions. Now, with all that being said, that is all I got for you guys today. As I said, Julian Okwara isn't necessarily having the greatest training camp. He's not necessarily popping off the screen like some of the other guys we've talked about, but I did want to talk about Julian Okwara because he is one of the big name rookies from the Detroit Lions draft class, and why he's not necessarily having a perfect training camp, or why he's not necessarily having an elite training camp like some of the other rookies. He's still having a very solid one, a very productive one, and he's still improving at such a quick rate that I just wanted to talk about him and wanted to share with you guys what our third round rookie is accomplishing in training camp. So with all that being said, though, that is all I got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video and had an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. As I said in the beginning, if you are new to the channel and are enjoying the content, consider liking the videos and subscribing to the channel. This takes only 2 seconds out of your day, and it helps me push out this Detroit Lions content to more Detroit Lions fans, and helps me grow the channel and helps it out just more than you could possibly know. So if you could do that, take those 2 seconds out of your day, I'd be super appreciative. But until then, that is all I got for you guys today. If there is Lions news before tomorrow, I will make a video letting everybody know. But if there is no Lions news, that is all I got for you guys today. I will see all of you guys tomorrow with more Detroit Lions content. But until then, I'll see y'all later. Bye, guys.